How do I not abstract this code so much that when I look at this in a week, I still understand it? That's the that's the real time. It's like that's so true. That's so true. And this happens where some people will completely over engineer and over abstract their code to the point where it's like you don't even understand what's happening. It's like, okay, we've lost the plot. Like this code's not even easy for a programmer to understand. Like I'm okay with code being complex, but I'm not okay with it being needlessly tedious. That's the part where I have an issue with. But this happens. You ever notice like this happens with people sometimes where oh man, sometimes it's like pulling teeth. I'll talk to someone that's like smart. And I'm not using that quote. I'm not using the quotes dismissively, but someone will have like a smart guy persona where they're like, "Oh yes, I'm a genius and I know all this stuff." So when you ask them how something works, they give you a very abstract, digested answer, and it's like, "Bro, I don't want that. I want two examples that I'll come up with the rule in my head, and then you can correct me if the rule's not right." But they're like if I was talking about this code where I'm like, oh yeah, like this line right here, format status map, it takes an index map, which is basically a hash map, and it loops over them and it prints them to the screen. Now imagine I was like, oh yes, so this function down here is a formatter function. The main goal is to take an input that has been, it's been stored in a data structure that makes sense for what it is. And what it outputs is a different form, so it transmutes the data. It's like, bro, calm down. Just give me the answer that I asked for. It's called format status map. It takes a hash map in and it returns a string. Done. Like that's it. That's it. Like your brain can figure out how to, deal with it and abstract whatever you need to. I don't know. I went off on a tangent there, but like, yeah, that's how I feel about it. Seriously, 100% agree. Truer words have never been spoken. Yeah. So based on DMs I have received and comments I have gotten on all of my social media, I think that this is something that people resonate with. I think there are a lot of tech creators out there that live in this world of like, I don't want to say being pretentious because I don't want to actually like attack. I don't mean it that way. But I think some people live in this world of weird abstraction and like pseudo intellectualism where they try to come down like they're holier than thou. They're like, oh, you would write it like this? Well, I would do this. And it's like at the same time they're talking down to you. They're talking about how they don't actually write any code and they just go to like ChatGPT and generate it that way. And it's like, I don't know, like at a certain point, it's like talking down to someone who goes to the gym being like, well, I just bring my forklift and my forklift can bench 2 tons. It's like, yeah, okay, who cares? Like, that's literally not the problem here. And I think, so like I said, the comments I get, I think are refreshing for people where I'm like, guys, look, let's just keep this down to earth. I'm going to talk about code. I'm going to show you guys actual code. I'm going to talk about what's directly in front of me. We can talk about the philosophy behind it when it's relevant, but like, I don't know. I like to keep it down to earth and just keep it like very approachable, like conversation style. Yeah, good old, yeah, keep it simple. Exactly. Kiss, keep it simple, stupid. That's the goal here. Like, I don't need to overcomplicate it. I can. I know how to speak some fancy words and blow things way out of proportion, make them sound way better than they are. But I hate doing that, salesman style speak. That just doesn't do much for me. At them for science. Nah, I'm good. I feel like a lot of people in tech are also poor communicators as well. Context is everything. I agree with that. And I want to put some caveats around that. People have this way. I'm not saying you're doing this, but some people do this when they're like, oh yeah, people in tech are just bad communicators. They say this as though that can't change. They say that as though this is just a given. And this happens a lot in human nature. People will be like, oh, well, it's just because of this. And it's like, okay, but that's not concrete. That's not set in stone. Like some people in tech are bad communicators. Some people when they're learning tech are bad programmers, but you can practice and get good at it. Communication is something you can practice and get good at it. I mean, boot up a live stream, sit in front of a mic and do this for hours on end for like weeks and you'll become way better at it. Like I promise you, you will. It's incredible how well you can go from brain to mouth if you practice it. You have to actually practice it. Some people are like, I just wasn't born with that skill. It's like, bro, no one was born being able to talk. We all had to learn how to do it. Like, some people just stopped at different parts of the process. Like, I don't know what you want me to tell you. But yeah, I wish more people would practice that. So as a result, you get some sort of tech creators that come on here, and I'm not throwing shade, and I'm not calling out anyone specifically, but I notice that sometimes happens where they come up here, they have really good information, but they cannot communicate it well, and then you can see them get frustrated when their stuff's not being received well. It's like, yeah, because you didn't take the time to give it to me in a way that I would want to hear it. Like it actually, yeah, I don't know. That's how I feel about that. Me explaining the internet. It's like a hotel with different rooms and street addresses, and the list of rooms is DNS. Yeah, I think sometimes those kind of analogies can help, where you can explain like street numbers and names and stuff like this and how they can represent, like if you were going to explain like encapsulation of, like a hardware line and then the ethernet above that, IP above that, TCP above that, HTTP above that. If you were to talk about the whole like OSI model, like yeah, it makes sense to compare it to like, okay, well we have a street and then we have cars and then we can drive to your house and there's a house number there and there's a name of someone who lives in that house number. Like you can do all sorts of stuff like that. I think that's super useful.